am your father.
This is the Millennials Podcast.
You are the father.
It's my stepdad, Gary.
Well, I just wanted to let you girls know that your mom and I are about to start another game of categories if you want to join us.
No! Ow!
Hey, welcome to our Millennials Podcast.
Woo!
Thanks for plugging in your ear headphones and turning us on your car, however you listen to us. We appreciate it a lot. So today we're going to be talking about dads, since last time we talked about moms.
Yeah.
Dads are pretty awesome. Well, sometimes. You never know.
Oh, snap.
That's true.
That's my intro, guys.
Done by Bob Ross himself.
Aww.
Who is that the guy that does the painting?
Yeah, that's the guy that puts you to sleep.
He's on Netflix now, you know that? All his stuff's on Netflix now.
That's because of Twitch.
What's that?
It's a streaming website where they started streaming all of his episodes and everybody loved it.
So Netflix was like, let's
That's
get money.
funny. Oh my gosh.
I bet he was a good dad if he was one.
Anyway,
So
He was a dad if he was a dad.
we have a great guest today. He is a
Yeah.
good friend, one of the most techie people I know. His phone's hooked up to the light bulbs in his house.
And he's a dad.
And he's a dad.
And he's looking at his Apple Watch. He's mouthing
Got
Apple
an
Watch. Mention the
too.
Apple Watch.
He does text messages on his watch. He was born
I can
in
turn on my lights with my
He was
watch.
born in 81, right?
81, yep.
So,
yeah, welcome to the Millennials.
and his name is
Kanahou,
Kanahou. And you're from?
Hawaii.
Yes. He has a great story. He's a good storyteller. He's a good-looking guy. He's got 2 great kids and a wonderful wife.
His kids have awesome names, too. What are their names?
Malia and Cash Money
Cash.
Records.
Is that his middle name?
No.
Money Records?
Money Records.
Yeah.
Cash
Sorry,
Money
we call him
Records.
Cash Money.
All right, so how I wanted to start it was if we could all go around and tell
A dad joke?
shortly. Yeah, well, if you have a dad joke, let's do it now. You got a dad joke?
What do you
Let
call
it out.
an alligator in a vest?
What?
An investigator.
I have a dad too.
Anyone
All right.
else? All
You
right,
got
I'll
one?
say mine. I'll say mine.
Say
I'll
it,
say
say
mine.
it,
Okay. What did the Pink Panther say to the dead ant? You already know because I said it earlier. Dead ant. Dead ant. Dead ant. Dead ant. Dead ant.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, one more.
All right, Tiffany, I want to
no,
apologize.
one more,
Tiffany
one
is
more.
Kanahou's wife, and she's
Just
here
let me.
listening to us. And now
Okay.
she's looking at her Apple Watch saying, oh, dear Lord God.
Let the Kyle do the Kyle.
How does Lady Gaga like her steak? Rah, 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 ah,
Are all your dad jokes singing jokes?
Hey, that's
I have
a
another
pretty
one.
current dad, you know.
Do another one.
All right.
I got another
All
one.
right. Shh, Joey.
Okay.
I'm being dad right now.
Okay, daddy.
Okay. What kind of overalls did Super Mario wear?
God damn it.
Denim. Denim, denim, denim.
That weird laugh he just did.
You look really scary right now.
And before we move on, what's up with dad bods? Is that still a thing? Remember dad bods?
Hopefully dads will always have bodies.
The daddiest bod here? Or
No,
something?
I'm saying, is
Is-
that still a thing? Like,
that
I
still
heard
a
about it a
desirable
lot.
thing?
What's a
and
dad bod, huh?
Dad bod is either to me like ripped hardcore abs,
No.
huge
No.
muscles,
What?
and telling
That's
a
not a
story,
dad bod.
or
dad bod?
Oh.
cause that's like hipster dad bod,
not.
like
No.
right now. Let me finish. Or just like gave up on life and doesn't care and
No, a
No,
dad
no.
bod is in the middle of that.
Yeah.
A
it's
dad
like
bod
it's just
is
like
somebody.
a little pudge.
Yeah, someone who used to be like in
takes care
shape,
of his
and
body
then
just for a little
they
bit.
just let go a little bit,
Yeah.
and you can tell that they used to, but really don't anymore.
But they still have
Because
they
they're
have their
married.
old man strength still.
Yeah.
Like, don't pick a fight with them, but also.
well,
Leonardo DiCaprio was said to have had the dad bod.
I think like Ben
Really?
Affleck before he's trained for Batman.
Yeah.
All right, anyways, so
Stories around the room.
yes, I wanted to go around the room and everyone say the relationship you have with your dad. It can be a minute or less, definitely, preferably less. And then we're going to end with Kanahou telling his beautiful story.
Like a cat.
Like
I'm my
what
dad's
kind
son.
of relationship do you have with your dad? Is it close? Do you know each other well? You know, all that kind of stuff.
Do you live
I got-
together?
How long have you known your dad? You know, like,
Like almost all my life.
whoa,
Almost?
that's intense.
Yeah, I don't
That
remember
wouldn't
the
be a
first
false
2 years.
statement for a lot of people.
There's like a few years when I was young where I just didn't remember anything. You know, I was sort of they called me a baby.
Okay, well, because some people
Did you
can
cry
misconstrue
about it?
that because some people
called
meet
me
their
a
father
baby.
later on in their life because they don't know them when they're
That's
younger.
cool for them.
What about you, Joey?
Well,
Wait, was that really Ralph's go? No, you're
apparently
already.
I don't even know what exactly we're looking for in
Here,
the story.
I'll
How
give
about
you
you
an
go
example.
first?
All right, I'll go first.
Never mind.
I
Go ahead, Dad.
Sorry,
you
Joey.
go first.
This is Jason.
the dad of the group.
So I would consider my relationship with my dad really, really good. When I was growing up, he would do lots and lots of stuff with me. When he came home from work, he would always make it a point to either ride motorcycles with me or play outside or do something. We'd play a video game, show me something on the computer. I think he was a great dad. He's a great example. Whenever I've had a problem, he helped me out, taught me a lot about work ethic, and I know he loves both me and my sister a lot. And he got us a cat. He despises cats, and he got us a cat when we moved into a new house just for us and lived with it for like 13 years or something like that. I don't remember how old it was.
Unlucky.
Then my mom
13.
killed it, literally. She put it to sleep because it was like, yeah. Maybe I'll cut that out so no PETA people get after us.
When I
But yeah, I have a really great relationship with my dad.
Me too. And
The end.
Relationship with Jason's dad.
You have a great relationship with my dad? What?
He's a great dad. He gave me a cat too. No, I'm just kidding. I've never had a cat because my dad's allergic to cats.
Nope, my dad
But-
just hates them.
Well, my dad, he's the cook of the family, and he's a really handy man. He's not a manny. His name is Ben. But he likes to fix cars and things. And sometimes, you know, I help him out when I was younger. I still help him out now. He likes to doing everything himself, like putting on tile or just like construction. He likes doing it himself. There's one thing, we bonded over the Dolphins game once, and we went to it, and they won. It was like versus the Jets too. And then later on, I found out that he was a closet Jet fan all his life. And that's a big deal because like the Jets and the Dolphins are like...
Are they rivals or something?
Yeah, they're rivals. So that kind of hurt me, but whatever. He's still good.
That hurt you?
Yeah.
You had a good childhood.
He lied to me.
Kyle.
Okay, I'll try to make this as short as possible. I was debating on whether or not I was gonna share.
Share it. Doesn't
and-
have to be a minute if it's good.
Yeah. I've been thinking about this for a while, but anyway, not a lot of people know this about me, other than people that are close to me. I think you guys know, but I don't really know who my biological father is, and my mom met my dad when she was pregnant with me, and it was pretty cool because he stepped in. He gave me his last name, and actually for the first like 12 years of my life, I didn't know that he wasn't my biological father. Yeah.
Whoa, how'd you take that when they told you?
Or did they tell you?
They
Like,
told me.
Did you just find out? Okay.
No, my mom sat me down and told me, and it was rough. Like,
Yeah, I can't imagine like
12
figuring out
years
a time
old?
until
That's young to find out.
yeah, it was rough. But just as a kid, realizing how big of a deal it was, like looking past, I've been lied to for 12 years, and and looking at this guy, like met my mom and just took me on as his own. So yeah, that's and he's been there since. Like he's still there today. Like my mom and my
That's
dad aren't
great.
together anymore, and they haven't been together since I was 7, and he continued to be my dad.
Wow.
So
Wow, that's awesome.
that's my situation with my dad. Pretty awesome.
Ashley?
Me? You're gonna two happy, kind of unfortunate circumstances back to back? Okay.
Yeah, let's get him out of the way.
Okay, cool. My parents got divorced when I was 2. I met my father a couple of times, like maybe like less than a dozen times spent time with him. And then when I was around 14, that's when like didn't hear from him like at all. And then I would just hear through the grapevine from like people that knew my family or whatever, that he moved here and he moved there, and I haven't seen or talked to him since.
How long has it been?
I can't math. It's like 12
More
years.
than a decade?
12 years,
Okay.
yeah.
Ralph.
Yo. my relationship with my dad is pretty good. He's very supportive of whatever I want to do. Both of my parents were like, no matter what I wanted to do, they just backed me up, and yeah, it's pretty good.
Are you close, like father and son close, or you're close like you're also a little bit buddies, like the same things, hang out, or no, it's strictly
not we don't quite always like the same things, but we always are willing to like listen into what the other one is enjoying. Like,
Okay.
I'm not exactly a big sports fan, but I'll watch sports with my dad, and like the same goes the other way around. I mean, we're talking about the podcast.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Does he listen to it?
He's asking me to show him how to listen to it.
Cool. Whose parents here has heard it? My mom's heard
mom has.
half of two.
Yeah, Mom,
different
you're
ones.
awesome.
My mom, I've mentioned it to her before. Like before I left to come here, she was asking me, "What's a podcast again?" And then I explained to her, and I was like, "Oh, the last one was about moms." And she was really interested. And she's like, "What's it called? Where can I find it?"
Aww.
Yeah.
What's it called? It's your first and last name, Mom. It's all about you.
She's like, "Did you say my name?" I'm like, "Oh, I said more than that."
All right, Kanahou.
Okay.
You haven't really said much. Hit it.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. I'm
Feel
nervous.
free to add
Don't be
commentary.
nervous.
He's a fan.
I feel like I'm really honored to be here. First and foremost, I feel like this is famous stuff here. You know, I mean, I've been listening to the podcast for 8 times, and
For 8 times.
I feel like wow, I'm on the podcast. Yeah. I get to hear myself on this super cool mic.
Well, you have a good voice,
Dreams
so
can
you'll sound
come
good.
true.
How awesome is it that Jason that we thought, "Oh, let's do a father's podcast," and Jason immediately was like,
Like,
"Kanahou."
dude, I was like, I was first of I was speechless at first, and then I was like, I felt just honor, you know, and because nobody here has kids, right?
Nope.
No,
So,
not that I
That
knew
was
of.
a
one time.
It was really
Kidding.
it was really kind of a big deal for me because I was like, wow, these guys who I've known for, I don't know, maybe 3 years, something like that, on and off, seeing me at maybe church and some other functions and seeing me with my children and thought of me to be on their podcast. I was just like super honored that they would invite me to be here, and I've been stoked about it for the last 36 hours, I guess, since I knew.
What year were you born in?
1981.
Millennial dad.
Right on
Right
the
on the
cusp.
edge. Right on the edge.
on the
I'm
cusp.
sorry.
Older than Rose, who was on the last podcast.
It's interesting
He's
because
edgy.
millennials recently just got into fatherhood, like not too long ago. If you think about it,
Certain
Certain
age groups.
because
Yeah.
Our
Yeah.
gap is so huge.
yeah, but like fatherhood wasn't that big in millennials until recently. Like we're finally growing up.
Because millennials are having kids later, which is a very interesting statistic I'll do later, but get to your story so we don't.
Yeah.
ignore that.
So let's see. I had a father, and I was too, just like Kaio. I was thinking hard about this today. I was like, man, am I gonna tell it? I got butterflies right now. Am I gonna tell the story But I figured, because there's so much diversity here, I figured, you know what? I've told the story to other people before, and I just feel like to be real with everybody and to actually show why I'm on this podcast and these awesome people think I should be on this podcast as the father figure here, I have to tell you why I became that father. And why I became that father was because of my father. My father, love him to death. He did the best he could. My father has been he's been an alcoholic since he was a baby. His father would put alcohol, beer in his baby bottles so that he wouldn't cry. And so even though both of his parents were alcoholics, he didn't even have a chance. And it's just, when I think about it, it really hurts because alcohol has really hurt his life and hurt his family. And so obviously having him in my life, he was always an alcoholic. He always provided for us. He was a great provider. He was a great protector. I never really had a relationship where we went out and took apart a 57 Chevy motor, or knew how to do anything. My dad was a mechanic for 40 years, a 40-year mechanic, and I never knew anything about vehicles. When I got my first vehicle, I blew the radiator up, and he goes, well, you're supposed to put water in here when it starts overheating. And I said, you put water in a car? I mean, I was that naive and silly because I had no idea. I was like, I thought you just put gas in it. And I didn't know how to change oil. I didn't know how to do anything, because he was always working. He was always his goal was to give us more than he was ever given. And he was his own dad as the firstborn with 3 other siblings. And one of those siblings died of cancer when he was a kid. And he had to, at 16 years old, he went out and got a job and started bringing a paycheck home to pay, for food and rent or the mortgage and take care of all his brothers and sisters. So he had to mature like that. And he had been doing it since he was born. He was, a born leader and a born rescuer. And that's what was on his plate. So when he had us, me and my brother, he wanted to just give us everything. And he didn't know how to have a relationship with his son. He basically was like, this is how I'm showing love, is I give you $100 for A's and new Michael Jordan shoes every time they come out. And that's how I show love. And that's how he knew how to show love. And when I had children, it didn't click with me. It didn't click that I was being the same father as my father. My dad had 2 DUIs before he was 25 years old. I had 2 DUIs before I was 25 years old. I was going down the same exact path. I had my daughter with my ex-wife when I was 25 years old. And I had 1 DUI already. And I didn't put 2 and 2 together. I kept drinking. I kept doing drugs. I kept doing stupid stuff. And then it came down to the point where I got my second DUI. My ex-wife, she left. It was not good. And even after that, I continued to drink and suppress this pain that was inside my heart because I thought I was owed a better father. Someone that would show me how to be a self-managing person in this life, and I knew nothing. And so where it comes down to where basically when it turned was I came home from work on a Saturday. My brother was watching my children. Me and my ex-wife had already split up, and it was my days to have the kids. And I came home and I reached into a cooler that had old Coronas that were warm. The ice that was in there was water. And I reached into the cooler and I grabbed the Corona and I opened it with a lighter. And right before I went to drink it, Malia, tiny Malia, she was 4 or 5. She comes out, she goes, "Daddy, can you help me tell time?" And I go, and I looked at the Corona and I said, absolutely. And I went inside the house with the Corona and I poured it down the drain and I never drank another drink.
From that moment?
Yeah. And that was June 23rd will be 6 years.
Wow.
I haven't drank or done any kind of drugs. And I decided that from now on, I am going to break the chain of alcoholism in my family that has gone on for generations. I'm talking decades upon decades upon decades of alcoholics, and nobody stepped up and broke the chain. Mm-hmm. And I said, that's it. And it takes 3 generations of no drinking for that alcoholic chain to be broken off a family where it won't even be a problem.
Really?
My kids are really still like
susceptible.
They could be, but they've seen the effects. And on my second DUI, I had a breathalyzer for a year. And I had to drive around
or something on your car.
Yeah, to start the car, 5 minutes down the road, and the first day I got it, and this was after I made my mistakes and I'd already quit drinking, so it wasn't a problem. I sat my kids down and I told them. I mean, Cash was, 2 years old. He didn't know, but Amalia, she knew, and I sat her down and I said, "This is what happens when you abuse alcohol and you break the law and you drink and you drive. I could have killed people, and I thank God every day that I didn't kill anybody, and I'm going to have to do this. This is my punishment. This is the consequence for my action." And she knows to this day. She still knows. She still remembers that. And those are the little things when you're a kid. You remember, like, back long time ago, you have this one memory, whether it was good or bad, this sticks in you. That's one that's going to stick with her. That was an important part of her life, that her dad actually was honest with her, you know? And my dad, like I said, he did the best he could, but he really hid a lot because he had a lot to hide. Me, I have nothing to hide from them. I tell them everything, down to the electric bill, which my parents never told me, and I go, you know why I'm telling you electric bill? No, because you're leaving your light on in the room. Your light's on in the room. I'm going to start charging you for that. You know how much that costs? No concept of money. First they're born and they have no concept of time. Then they have concept of time, and then they have no concept of money. And then so time and, time is money.
And that's all there is in the world.
Right.
Just time and money.
Time and money.
The two most important things. But time is not money, according to Alice through the Looking Glass. He is a lot of things, but he is not money. So time actually costs money. Is really what it comes down to.
I get it.
So that's kind of just the first story or whatever of my relationship. Now my relationship with my father right now is fast forward 20 years. I reached out to him before I got remarried to Tiffany, and I got him into a rehab center. He got sober. He moved to the Florida Keys. He lived with me. He was sober for a year, and then he went back to drinking.
Is that recent, or?
That's about 5 years ago.
Okay.
Then he went back to drinking. Then he went to rehab again, got sober again for another year, and he's back to drinking now. So we have a relationship, and every time he wasn't drinking, we had the greatest relationship ever. Like, I'm talking, we would work on the house together. We would work on cars together. We would fix cars together. Everything I ever wanted as a kid. Conversations. Hey, Dad, I'm starting my own business. What do you think? You've been a manager your whole life. Oh, this. And we would talk these long, awesome conversations out, and I'd just be lit from head to toe. You know what I mean? And then he'd go back to drinking, and I'd lose him again. And, and that's kind of where it is now. So it's a very distant relationship. I can't allow myself to, I'm not going to engage with you because, first of all, you're not going to remember it. And then second of all, I get frustrated. Yeah. So,
have you told him that when he's not drinking, how great of a time you're having, or you just have the great time and let it be? Or do you let him know, like, hey, this is great?
Yeah, absolutely. And I've had to actually change ways on dealing with him, because at first I'm pounding my fist
really hard.
Really hard on him, blah, 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 blah. You should, why are you drinking? This is stupid, da, 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 da. And then he stopped drinking. And then I found out he stopped drinking for me. Well, guess what? An alcoholic can't stop drinking for anybody but themselves. They actually have to choose. When they have that problem, they have a pain that they haven't got to, they have to choose that. And then the next time it was like, dude, life or death, and then this last time it was like, dude, you're gonna either wreck and die. And so I'm still the rescuer, the firstborn, you know what I mean? And being a father to my father, getting him jobs and helping him with money, and
I'm sure a lot of people can relate to being a father to their father, if that makes any sense, especially people older than us.
Right.
Because I feel like alcoholism's always been a thing, but for some reason I feel like there was a lot of drunks in like the 60s and 70s and 80s. Like, I know that I don't know if he was a drunk, but I know that my grandfather drank a lot. He definitely had his life together, and they had 6 kids, and everyone mostly was happy from what I understand. But they would say, like, he'd get like super angry like pretty often. It was usually when he was drinking and things like that. So, and I know a lot of other people's parents who their grandparents are like, heavy into drinking. I wonder if it's a generational thing.
I think it has a lot to do with it, after Prohibition, and then, it was, okay, now it's for real now, like we can actually buy this, and, everybody did it, kind of like with, my wife, she does a lot of going to schools and teaching about drugs and alcohol and stuff like that. And, I talked to a friend yesterday, and it was funny because, everybody's talking about, legalize marijuana. Me personally, I don't really care. I wouldn't do it anyway, but that's just my self-control, and I've already been down that road or whatever. But think about this. When Prohibition was in, less people drank. It was only really the bootleggers that could get it, and the the rich people and stuff like that, and they they made their money and whatever, and the underground stuff. And that's how it was. That's how it really is with weed. Even though everybody smokes weed, I'm quoting my fingers. But the thing is that if you made it legal, would it be like, okay, well, it's legal now, maybe I'll do it? Will there be more people smoking weed? You know what I mean? So like in that generation, like it seemed like just to me, and this is on my own personal opinion, is like our parents' generation and maybe the generation before that, it was alcohol. That was their thing.
It's
you know what I
like
mean?
Right after something becomes legal, there's probably like a giant spike.
Boom, yeah.
Right.
And it like levels out.
And then now that it seems like marijuana is that spike in our, millennial growing up of age. And that's the new whatever. You know what I mean? So
Cool. Thank you for sharing that story.
Yeah,
I didn't
thanks,
want to derail it too much to drugs and alcohol because we are doing a dad's one. So
it has to do with it.
What? Yeah, it does. It does. So what is something? Do you think that you would have ended up where you are if that moment hadn't happened with your daughter?
It's hard to say.
Do you think having a child changed
Yeah.
and altered the way your life spanned out? Becoming a father.
I think it was a combination of both. I think that my father had a child. He had two sons. What more does a man want but to have two seeds of himself, there, and that didn't change anything for him. You know what I mean? So I really think that me going, okay, this was the example set before me. I actually have to make a conscious decision to choose something different, or I will be my father. And that desperation and inspiration and enough pain said, I don't want that for my children. I don't care if I'm broke. I don't want that for them. Yeah. I don't want to have to grow up like them without a father. In the age that we are, it's really a fatherless generation. Yeah, but it is getting better. I have to say, my brother is making strides, taking his ex-girlfriend to court to get his daughter. You know what I mean? I mean, strides are being made where men are going after their children, and it makes me so happy to see fathers step up instead of like, it's funny, we had the mothers last week. Mothers really have been there, It's the fathers who haven't, and to see fathers step up and actually take ownership of what they tangoed in is awesome. Is awesome because it does take two to tango, and I just think that's really great. I think we're in a turning point in our country where fathers are starting to step up a lot more.
Yeah. Actually,
so Rose's remark about fathers babysitting, do you think that came from just like absence of fathers, and now that they're stepping up, it's almost like, wait, that's not how fathers are?
I absolutely agree with that. I think I was a babysitter. I have been that babysitter. You know what I mean? Where I don't know what am I going to do with these kids? It's really taken me a long time to actually learn,
really
grow, try new things. Experiment as being a father.
Well, I actually was reading and up on it. Like during the podcast. Yeah, I'll say it. Anyway, but I read here that millennial. Where? Oh, sorry. What is this? The G brief. So yeah. Anyway, Thanks.
That sounds legit.
It sounds legit, right?
No.
It's basically saying how millennial fathers are doing just that. They're stepping up more than before. Paternity leave is a thing now that did not exist. Like a dad taking off to be with their kid, that was not a thing before. A recent study found 80% of millennial dads take part in grocery shopping compared to 45% before. So they plan play dates and other activities outside of the home.
Kanahou's just sitting here with a wide open mouth, nodding like, yeah.
They spend 5 or more hours per week with their kids than the fathers of 1995 did.
How many more hours did you say?
It says 5 more hours per week than fathers did in 1995. So it says maybe this is why millennial parents are also driving growth in the energy drink market.
And here he is with his monster.
Yeah,
We're not being
the two
sponsored.
parents that are here with their
Red
monster.
Bull Monster.
Brought to you by Monster. No, just kidding.
No, they didn't sponsor us.
I know that was a
Yeah,
joke.
so I want to also point out the pressure, because I know we talked about on the mom podcast the pressure that moms have, which is a very heavy pressure. But I think there's a pressure on dads today as well to kind of perform more than before. Like,
Yeah, there is, and I think
Good
part of it
pressure,
I've read before we started this one that part of it is them wanting to, because of poor examples, either of their own fathers or in the media or statistics that I believe it said in one of the articles, it could be the one you're reading actually, because I read that one too. 85% of millennial dads think it's important to strive to be a perfect dad.
Yeah,
versus
that's the same article.
Versus what is it for the moms? Like it's really close, but it's less. It's like 80% or something like that.
Yeah,
Which I think is a huge deal, personally.
I agree.
As far as those pressures go, I would say that the pressures are sort of different, where the mothers are being pressured to do more,
Mm-hmm.
and the fathers are almost being pressured like just
To do what they're supposed to
be
do.
adequate.
Yeah.
I can see what you
take
mean.
Your,
it is
your
kind of
advances
more,
where you
though.
can get them, right? Because then eventually it'll be
Of course.
even more than that. So you'd have to rejoice in what you have right now, because it's a great change from what you had back then.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying that that's where we are. That's
Yeah.
where I feel like we are right now.
Dads can't be pressured to breastfeed.
There is
Can
a
you
man
milk
who's
me,
done
Greg?
it, though.
I have nipples.
Only moms are boobs, right?
Yeah.
That comment, man, that you made last time. So I know that what you said about Kaio, the workforce allowing certain things like paternity leave, I know that's one of the things that's allowing dads to be more involved, because like, I'm totally making this year up, but let's say 1960 whatever, I'm sure behind the scenes it would have been like, look, you don't need any time off, your wife's got this is what she does.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And there you
You'd
work,
probably be ridiculed for taking the paternity
we
leave.
need you for overtime, and then he feels all this pressure, and then he goes to his wife and says, oh, I can make some overtime, I can't come home tonight, or whatever. Anyways, so the workforce changing to adapt to millennials is definitely a positive thing, I think. Then again, though, if you're a small company, letting someone have 2 months off or something that isn't even actually physically not disabled, whatever you want to call it, impaired, is that's expensive for a small business to do.
I think it's less about being physically impaired and more about your baby needs you.
Yeah.
Because mothers can, honestly, I've seen mothers give birth and spring right back into
Well,
work.
sure,
into
but
the
there are
workforce.
also other needs that the mother needs to provide to the child.
Like what?
Breastfeeding.
That's not a necessity.
Like
Like
cuddling.
formula is an option. Like it might not be the best option, but
Yeah, no, I agree with it. I think it's a good thing. I'm just saying, like, imagine you're a small business and 3 dads all have a baby at once, and they all want paternity leave,
Whoa,
and
you
you have
got
to
3
pay
dads?
them all. Yeah, I have 3 dads.
what do you do if there's 3 moms?
Our forefathers.
Right, but now it's double. Now
Yeah.
it's not only are your females in your business that could happen to, also the males in your business that could happen to. That's kind of
That's why
a lot.
everyone just needs to be self-employed and you take the time
Everyone
off
needs to
when
be
you want to.
self-employed. What would this world look like if everyone
And we
was
just
self-employed?
bartered.
Just pays themselves.
And we just bartered things.
Apparated.
If everyone was super, no one would
So
be.
Kanahou, one of the stats I read is millennial dads seek 70% of their parental information, like something they want to know.
Google.
70% of millennial dads. Is that true? Do you go to your dad or your mom or whoever, some other father figure in your life, or do you Google like
Do
a
you
lot
ask
of
Siri?
stuff?
Dude, he Googles.
I'm sure whatever your answer is going to be much higher than regular people because you're so into
Techie.
tech.
Well, truthfully and honestly, I started to become a dad 5 years ago. I know that sounds funny because my kids are 10 and 8, but I really became a dad 5 years ago. And it started off with I was learning this course called Love Your Kids on Purpose. And I just started it. And I was just getting into it. And I went to my cousin was getting married, went to his wedding, and we're waiting around. And you got 2 kids, and it's 5 years ago, so they're still kids. They're 6 and 4, and they're, whiny babies still. And it's hot, and we're on the beach, and they're hungry, and and my wife Tiffany, she goes to Starbucks and gets them little croissants to hold them over. Gives it to them. No, thank you. No, please, nothing. And she had done this out on the road, and it's a long driveway, and I was coming out. Before I even got there, Malia, mainly, she was crying, bawling her eyes out. And I came around and I said, "What's going on?" And Tiffany goes, "I don't know." She started crying. I said, "Well, what happened?" She goes, "I didn't get a thank you. I went and got, these croissants all the way at Starbucks in Key Largo and came back for them." And I was like, "No, thank you." And she just bawling. Cash couldn't care less. He's grinding down on the croissant.
Boys.
So I take her over to the tennis court at this house, and I'm sitting her down, and she is, "What's wrong? Tell me." And I'm starting to get angry, like I just want to shake the crap out of her and tell me what's wrong with you, just squeeze it out of her because I want her to stop crying. And this is where I became a parent. This is where I really became the father that you all have witnessed. It took this. And probably a half an hour went by, and she cried for that full half an hour. And finally, I only had a couple tools from the course I was listening to, and I said, "Baby, what's the problem?" And she said 2 words to me that changed my life forever. She said, "I'm scared." And I just realized at that moment that her daddy, the one that she looked up to, scared her. I did that to her. I created an environment where she was scared of somebody who was made to protect her. And I lost it. I cried with her, and we sat there and just cried. And I said, "I'm so sorry." And I went through the wedding, got through it, went back to the house, and started watching this course, Love Your Kids on Purpose, over and over and over and over, and more tools and more tools and more tools. And I just kept watching it over. I listened to it. I put it on my iPhone, and I listened to it on the way to work. And I came home from work, and about 3 weeks later, and I watched it with my wife too. 3 weeks later, I sat both my children down at the dinner table, and I said, "I want to tell you something." I said, "I got some tools now. I promise you, from now on, I will never, ever parent you through fear and punishment ever again. And I'm so sorry that I did." And I haven't. but I do slip back sometimes, and I want to put some fear into them, or I want to put some punishment into them. But it's part of
natural.
It's natural. But I have to step up and go, oh, what am I doing? Who am I being?
Yeah.
Who am I scaring somebody?
That's so important because kids, they're people. A lot of, I think, not to knock on any former generations or anything, but I honestly feel like generations before kind of looked at kids like kind of as a subordinate person, like not like
They're not fully a person yet.
They're not fully a person yet.
You don't deserve certain things because you're
exactly
not,
like you don't have a voice. You don't have anything good to say. I know everything, and I've mentioned this in a previous podcast. I think there are learning opportunities from babies that you could get. So I think that's really important for a dad to just want to understand
and recognize
that from your kid. And I mean, obviously millennial dads aren't the best, but I think that this generation, at least dads that are involved, really
on the right track.
That. Yeah, or on the right track, and grasp that.
I think some of it is education, honestly, because I over and over and over again I kept reading, that and Rose touched on this for a second too, that your childhood is for the rest of your life. Like things that happen in your childhood will affect you forever. Even if you've conquered, quote unquote, something that happened or you got over something, you're still for the rest of your life, using tools and things to prevent it from happening again or having a certain feeling again. It's pretty insane and kind of, I would almost say like not unfair, but like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It kind of feels like, really?
That's actually the cards you got dealt.
Fragile. Yeah. Like, you're so fragile. Why would that happen?
Yeah. Well, another thing
that's too existential.
Another thing that I read was that millennial dads they plan fatherhood a lot more, like because of the recession and just the economy in general, student loans, a bunch of other things that kind of make millennial dads more conscious and more thought out parenthood. So yeah, that definitely affects parenting
100%.
in general, because if you're sitting down and really planning out your finances and thinking about, man, obviously you never know when you're going to be ready. You're never actually like fully ready. But planning for it and thinking about it, and I really want to be a good dad kind of thing.
And a lot of it had to do with that everything's later for millennials. We're getting married later, we're buying houses later, we're doing all that stuff later. So then when it is time, and plus, there's tons of forms of birth control for people. So because of that, everyone's having kids later, and a lot of people are having kids when they want to. So their heart's prepared for it, their mind's prepared for it, and a lot of them
prepared as they think.
Yeah, and a lot of them, their pocketbook is also prepared for it. Not everyone, of course, but it's the study that I was reading was saying that that's on the incline, that parents who are having kids are wanting to have children. It's not like some kind of oops, or it was too early, or we weren't ready yet, or I would argue that you shouldn't be sleeping around until you are ready to be a parent, but that's another story. So the story you just finished telling, I have two reactions to that.
Okay.
One, Malia for president in 2016.
Yeah.
Yes.
She could change everyone's hearts in the whole country.
Yeah.
And two, having kids sounds extremely emotional. You've teared up twice now from
human
kids'
interaction
stories.
is emotional. It's not just having kids, even though that's huge.
I think having kids increases it.
Yeah.
Like crazy.
Sometimes I get emotional at work. Like,
they're not even your kids.
I know. Like I work with kids. I've said this before, but I don't know if we have new listeners. I work with kids with special needs. I teach art and music, and I'm also a registered behavior technician. So I learn a lot of things at work that can definitely be applied to parenthood. Good stuff. Like we learn about positive reinforcement and that whole like punishment is not that just doesn't work with kids. At least it's not functional for them. It's not a lasting thing. It's a quick fix, and it'll only work with that person who's delivering that punishment, but it's not going to stick with them. So I have a lot of dad opportunities at work.
Yeah.
So I think mentally, like, I want to be a dad, but I just don't want like babies. I don't know. It's a weird thing.
What? Wait,
You know
what?
what? Let's get into some humor real quick.
Yeah, we
'cause
gotta
we've
talk
been
Okay.
about your plan.
Here's my plan.
This
All
is
right.
Kyle's plan
I
about
thought you
children.
wanted babies.
So
No, he doesn't want
I
babies.
want a
he
kid.
wants kids.
I want kids.
Oh,
but I
Kanahou, please
don't.
knock some sense into him.
I want kids, but I don't want babies like the poop and the baby and I just want to talk to them and them answer me and just use the toilet already and understand what I'm telling you. That whole phase, I just want to skip it. But I want the baby to be mine. I want to create it, so I don't want to adopt. Yeah.
So you
So
want to be
if anyone can figure out how I can make
Ralph's
this happen,
dad. You want to be Ralph's dad. You want to be that part where he doesn't remember for 3 or 4 years, and you're not there.
Yes.
So it doesn't matter that he
Yes.
doesn't remember.
Oh
That's
my
not what
gosh.
Ralph's dad was. That was just how he described it.
What about you guys? Do you want to be dads? Not
You
Kanahou.
know I
I know
don't.
he's a dad.
I mean, I don't have
They
any
don't.
plans, but I do think about if I was a dad, I would do this, or this is how I would raise a child. But I mean,
What do you mean you don't have any plans?
I don't.
Do you
have
want children?
Do I want
In the future,
children?
do you want children?
I have no idea. It all depends on how my life is.
It all depends if it's Emma Stone or not.
it'll change.
Oh my gosh!
To me, it depends.
Ralph
on
said once that he liked Emma Stone, and Ashley's
Ashley
never
won't
let it go.
I've let her go. Let her go, Ashley.
They would make such a cute couple. Emma Stone, get Ralph. Okay.
Go ahead, Joey.
if he doesn't want her,
Go ahead.
I'm right. Hey, Emma Stone, what's up? I like pizza.
If you're listening right now,
Yeah, pepperoni. You know.
Do you want
man,
to be
you
a
know
dad?
what? I don't doubt it. Joey would probably get Emma Stone somehow just from this podcast.
Yeah.
Might just like be driving down the street and pull over and get her number.
Yeah. that
People
ha-
just
Stop
hand Joey
sign.
numbers.
that happens to Joey all the time.
Yeah, I guess.
Do you want to be a dad? Joey?
It's a battle within myself, but I feel like it would only be settled when I'm married and I know the person.
What do you mean it's a battle? Why is it a
like
battle?
half of me wants to and half of me doesn't want to be.
What's
a
the
dad.
half that doesn't? Why?
Yeah.
Why not? Because then I don't know.
Responsibility.
There's more time, I guess.
Do you see yourself
Like
married and no kids?
Yeah. It really depends on the wife, on the girl.
So you're
The
just
woman.
you're just gonna adapt.
So you're just
Whoever you
waiting,
end up
and
with.
whatever she decides,
No,
you're
we
going
can
with
come.
it.
We can come to like an
Decision
agreement
together.
Yeah,
I'm with Joseph.
We can merge our fates. somehow.
Interesting. So you
And
guys have
see
no
where it goes
set
from
thing in
there.
your mind. Like, yeah, I want kids.
Well, the same of what you're asking us. Are we going to just yield to our wife? The same. You'd be asking the same thing of our future wife, right? By saying, do you want kids? Do you need kids?
Yeah, but that's
Like,
something you decide and then you look for in somebody.
I'm not saying what we're saying is we can meet our wives and come to the decision together.
Wow.
If they're on the same page as you are with that freeness.
Yeah.
If they're like, no way, Jose.
Like, for example, I don't want kids. So that was one of the main things. I was in a relationship before where I didn't want and she did. And that kind of was a problem
Jason.
at some point.
I have something to tell you.
So
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Jason and Ashley are married. by
There's
the way.
truth and humor.
yeah, that became a huge issue.
But
Because
it
I'm
became a
like, I
decision you
do
made together.
not want them. And she's like, I do. And I was like,
Later.
So you decided together.
this ain't gonna
yes?
work.
You decided together.
Decided what together? No,
To not
I'm
be
with
together?
Ashley.
He's talking about his ex-girlfriend on our
decided
podcast.
together
Oh, never
Wasting
mind.
our
Oh,
airtime
geez.
talking about. Just kidding.
Oh, I'm so
Just kidding.
sorry. I missed
Thanks,
that.
Joey.
I missed that
Bye,
really
guys. Ashley out.
Oh, okay. Can you get me some water while you're out? I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. She's not out. She's sitting down. She's not getting up.
All right, so moving on.
What Jason says is true, and it's very powerful. Like, when you're going into a relationship, it's like, okay, Ralph or Joey's got a ticket, and he's going to New York City, right? Because
Cool.
Joey knows
I
I'm
love
going
New
to New
York.
York City, right? So you show up at the airport, and you go, hey, who are you? And she's like, I'm going to China. And you're like, dude, totally, you're hot. I'm going to trade my New York ticket in for China. Then you go and you get a ticket to China and you're in China, right? And then you're like a year later, I don't really want to be in China. Why am I in China? I should have been in New York.
Dude, I
with
never
all my
went to New
friends."
York.
Right? And then all of a sudden now you've traded in a ticket of who you are and what you wanted to do. Like if you say, man, you know what? I know who I am. I really do want kids. Or like Jason, you know, I know who I am. I really don't want kids. And I'm going to go find somebody who has a ticket to New York City because I'm going to New York City.
All right.
If you find somebody that's going to China and you jump on the boat and you find out later, I probably want kids. Yeah, I really had this desire to have kids. And then she's like, dude, told you a long time ago.
This is a different comparison though.
Okay.
The situation we're in is we have credits to an airline. We don't have a ticket. We have credits to an airline. We haven't exactly made a choice.
Credits are balls.
We haven't made a choice, but he finds somebody at the airport and he's like, yo, I have a voucher. I didn't have anywhere planned to go.
Did you prepare this?
Do you want to go together?
Do you want to go together? Or do you want to come to New York?
And she's like, I don't know either. Let's look at the map and decide where we're going.
Exactly.
So two powerless people are just gonna put their thumb in the air, and
they get to make the choice.
Ooh.
They got to make the choice to go wherever
they want to go.
Wherever they wanted to go.
Who's influencing going somewhere?
They make the choice together because they both
don't have anywhere to go.
They haven't decided exactly where they wanted to go. They could go either way. That's what their desire is.
Okay. I guess it could work that way too.
Like we're not saying we want kids, but we're going to do whatever. Or we don't want kids, but we're going to do whatever. What we're saying is we feel both ways. We could be fathers. We could not be fathers. But
you just don't know right now.
Yeah, I wouldn't marry someone who is gung-ho with
definitive
one idea for
on something.
Sure.
Here's a question right here. Would you say you met a girl, both of you, not the same girl?
Don't rule it out. Don't rule it out.
What?
Whoa. Because they're both going for Emma Stone.
Because they have credits to go to anywhere, so they're not ruling anything out.
Billie Jean is not my lover.
Okay.
Yeah. She's just a girl that said I was the one.
Okay.
And
80s baby.
She has a child, a 3-year-old child who's already potty trained, loves life, cutest kid.
Yeah, but I didn't make it, so I don't want it. Just kidding.
Wow.
And
that was a terrible joke, by the way. It was a joke.
And you've started having a relationship with her, and you've fallen in love with her, and you go, "Wow, I get to be a dad," or like in my wife's case, I get to be stepmom to 2 kids. You know what I mean? Would that be something you're interested in? Or is it either I'm going to be a dad to my own kid or I'm not going to be a dad?
The wording is a little weird there. Interested means like I'm seeking out a single mom. But
No. I'm saying if you met somebody and you fell in
not
love,
opposed to,
and you
that's
fell
what he
in
means.
love with her and you were just like, dude, this is the girl for me, and you knew that she had.
You know what?
Yeah.
This kind of happened, sort of, but didn't. Why don't you tell us about that, Ralph?
Yeah,
no
Ralph.
comment.
Yeah, Ralph.
Oh, snap.
Something like that happened.
You had to go through this in your head. Can you tell us kind of what you went through in your head?
Do it.
Well, pretty much exactly what he described was kind of like I was sort of feeling that, but it was like really early stage stuff anyways.
But that was the first time you were faced with the reality of
I could be a dad.
Possibly pursuing a person who already had a kid.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
you were.
kids.
I feel like it's really
What?
It's really popular nowadays. Like
What is?
7 kids.
the single moms looking for a guy to date.
Oh yeah, that's
'Cause
trending.
It's like the last four girls I've met, have kids.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where are you meeting all of these single mothers?
I'm not gonna tell you. I'm just kidding.
I get numbers all the time. He says.
For the record,
just throw it.
For the record, I would not be opposed to a single mother
that had a 3-year-old who was already
My
potty
nails are
trained.
wet.
That would. Does she
Shout
have
out.
kids?
I don't know. But just in case.
What are you doing?
You're up to
She's a
no
Are you
loyal
gonna be like,
fan.
okay, this kid kind of looks like me? It's cool. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, that kid totally doesn't look like me. We'll never pull this off.
And
I
I
want
mean
like a
Matt-
ginger with covered in freckles with blue eyes.
I don't mean
that's the kid that I want.
when I said met, I don't mean like dated. I just mean like, oh hey, maybe, but no.
On the other hand, I'm saying this now, but there have been times like that. I feel like that can't happen right now in this moment of my life, because there have been times where I've seen a girl out, And I'm like, oh, she looks. And I see a kid. I'm like,
Let me tell you something though.
Like bonus or
no, like, oh, I don't know now. Because that's a lot. That's a huge.
Yeah,
that's
that
like
is a lot to take on.
I do
huge
have a
deal.
question for
you
you.
can't shoplift.
You're
the-
taking the
Jason?
both of them or all of them, however many there are.
But just to let you know, maybe you've thought about it, but as you guys get older, that will be more
More
of
and more
your
common.
crop to choose from.
of course.
That's why I
Unless
asked.
she's barren.
Unless she's barren.
Yeah.
But what if she adopted?
How
Okay,
awkward.
that's-
That's
We
different,
can
but
get into-
still, it would be even if she did, it'd still be a single mom, right? So
How is that even?
What?
Look,
I
I'm
don't
kind
know.
of confused. It's all right.
Oh.
I'm
What are you
really hungry right
Joey, start talking to your, sideways
he's
again
hungry,
into
he's
your
now.
mic.
what was it actually?
I do have a question, Jason, and you can totally cut this out. But as your wife, knowing that I didn't want kids, and you've known me since I was 14, so you've known me for a very long time. Question.
Someone's about to
Knowing
get
you don't
roasted.
want to have kids, why did you ever date people that were interested in having kids? Because that's totally an option. And
There's
you,
only one person.
Wait. Okay.
Not
But the other one has a kid, so you know she wanted kids.
Oh,
But she didn't.
She has several, right? Something like that.
No.
Anyways, that one,
They're
right?
arguing on the air.
I'm not arguing. I'm just so curious because
arguing.
I don't know why I've never thought of this.
Go ahead.
You are like, what's the word? He's
Focused.
Are we
one,
playing
you're
charades?
single-minded.
you're
Planned
driven.
out.
You know what you want. You're gonna go get it.
Organized.
Right?
About certain
Whether it be with
motivated.
tasks or whatever.
Destined.
Can't figure out the job though.
Relationships are a very big deal to you. If you're interested in someone and then it just doesn't work out, you turn and that's it. You don't go back to that option, right? How come you dated someone that was interested in having kids, knowing that was totally an option to be a
Great
father?
question.
To be fair, I was young, so that wasn't the first thing I was thinking about. And second of all, I thought maybe I could change my mind if I met the right person.
Yeah.
But then when I was with them, I was like, nope, I really like this person. It doesn't really matter that I don't want them.
Do you mean everything isn't black and white and there's a gray area?
No, black
Yeah.
and right.
I never said
Black
there
and
wasn't
white?
a gray area.
I like that.
No, don't say black and white. That sounds weird.
Black is
Ooh,
right.
that's me.
Boom.
Black and
Right,
right.
Kyle?
Kyle, hashtag black and right.
I can't tell if I'm Asian or if you're actually saying black and right.
White.
Black and right.
I have a question for Jason.
Uh-oh.
When did you know, guarantee, you did not, and what pushed you to that final, I do not want kids guaranteed?
I don't think there was a specific defining moment. I just noticed that over time we had the conversation several times, and I thought maybe I'll lighten up as it goes on, and I never lightened up.
With
And I was
this
like,
one person or just people in
No,
general?
no, just this one person. Yeah, I wouldn't be talking
So this
about
one
having kids
person-
with random girls.
This one. So it was this one person that changed your whole outlook on having kids, period?
No. I already didn't want them.
Oh, okay.
I thought they would change my outlook to maybe
Want
having
them.
them. And then
On top of
after a year and a half or so, I was like, I like this person a lot, and still
Yeah.
there's no way this is going to work out with that factor in there. So
Okay.
So with that question that you just asked, Jason, I just noticed you are a man of milestones.
he is.
Like everything, almost all the stories that you've told and everything you've mentioned, it was this happened, this was a milestone, and
Boom.
from then on, this changed. And you remember the day, you remember specifically what it was that changed everything. Even what you just asked Jason, what was that moment that made you change that?
Mm-hmm.
And I just realized I don't remember anything. Like nothing happened. Everything is so fluid and kind of like meshes together for me. I can't think back to this was the
You would
moment
be
that
a
everything
horrible
changed.
witness if ever you witnessed a crime.
Well, most
Yeah.
witnesses are pretty bad over time.
Yeah.
But that's a pretty cool trait to have.
The
I
first
get that.
48 minutes.
It's funny. I get that because does anybody know what it takes to anybody heard of the Baseball Hall of Fame?
Yeah,
Sure.
dude.
Right.
Sure, that sport
So
thing?
up
Right.
on that
Yeah,
MLB
that-
Hall of
They hit
Fame.
balls
Swing
with
that.
sticks.
It's ball sticks, right?
Is that the one with the touchdown?
Do you know? Yeah. Do you know how good you have to be to get into the
Yes.
Baseball Hall of Fame?
You have to hit a ball.
You have to be good
Hard and
character-wise,
fast
right?
and
Like
a lot
out
of
of
times.
100% perfect, how good do you have to be to get into the base?
120%.
How much?
120.
Jason?
97.
Does it depend a lot on character too?
No, I don't think so. I think it's how good you are.
0% character.
How good you
I think
are.
one of the Hall of Fames is like this guy was really good.
This
guy was
really
the
nice
nicest
guy.
guy.
It's because of him that the team was kept together. I don't know.
just a water boy.
I would say 98 maybe.
98.
They don't
Ralph?
give a
99.
Mr. Congeniality
I changed mine
award
to
to
99.
any of them.
Ralph?
I say 100.
100%?
Yeah, I'm not
Okay.
Ralph.
No one's
2%.
100.
2%?
Okay, he's
Sure.
just doing that to be
Are you-
different.
Yeah. Ashley, what do
The
you
Price is Right.
Huh?
How many percent?
I say 120.
How many percent is
120.
it?
Okay, so it's about...
Say it already.
It averages out to about 30%.
That's
wow.
I was closer to you than you, Ashley. Boom.
Because how it works out is
They let
the
people
most
into
successful
character.
people in life fail more times than they succeed. And you only have to be 30% good on point
So only have to be a
every
quarter?
single
Wow.
time to actually get into the Baseball Hall of Fame. So how I do those milestones is because every little thing is a success or a failure. And if it's a failure, I'm learning. And every time I learn, the more I learn, the more I make better choices to be more successful. So out of all the things that happened to got me to where I am right now, I made choices. I made little tiny choices, and I made tiny failures.
Yeah.
That got me here. It's not one big thing that changed my life, but this moment with my daughter, this moment when I put the beer down, this moment when I got my first DUI,
Malia for
this
president.
moment when I got my second DUI. This, did you say Malia's pregnant?
No.
Malia for president.
Malia for president.
Oh,
That was his worst fear manifested.
Right, yeah, 16 years old.
That's going to be a huge milestone.
You know what I mean? So these are how it stacks up in who is successful at what. So if you want to be successful as a parent, guess what? Get ready to fail.
Which is great because Jason brought up that millennial dads have that pressure to be perfect. And
That they create themselves, though.
Exactly.
No one is like...
yeah, but that's a huge deal because you're like, what is that? What is perfect?
Yeah.
There's a quote that's it says, "A man's life is interesting primarily when he has failed. I well know, for it's a sign that he tried to surpass himself."
That's a good one.
Just let that marinate for a second.
All right, enough of that.
All right.
Kanahou, speaking of your daughter, what is it like? What are some challenges? I know she's not a teenager yet, but what are some challenges now raising a daughter in 2016?
Yay, funny stories.
Maybe not funny.
It's rough. She's almost perfect. I really
What about
gotta tell
Cash?
you. She Cash. Oh, I could
Potential
go on for
future
Cash.
father.
If she's almost
Cash,
perfect, then you
I'll
might
tell
not have
you.
much to say.
Well,
Let's go
yeah,
on to-
I
what is
really
it like raising a son in 2016?
I'll tell you. It's a harder raising a son, and that's just my situation. And I'll tell you a little story about Cash. More than Malia, because Malia, like I said, she is very good. She does above and beyond, makes her brother lunch and breakfast.
What?
Makes her own breakfast, gets up every day at 6 o'clock to get on.
to do yoga in the sun.
I mean, well, not that, but
Is your son
she's on,
cash?
you know-
Is it cash like money or cash like internet cash?
No, it's cash
It's
money.
cash like Johnny.
CACHE?
Yeah.
It's
That
cash
would
like
be a
Johnny.
great one.
You can always change his name.
Yeah, no. He is very challenging because, and this is funny because we're talking about fathers. I did the finger thing again. I never really had a dad that showed me how to be a man. So when Cash was like about 3 or 4 years old, I read this book called Wild at Heart. Phenomenal book. Taught me a lot about being a dad, being that if you don't give your child a weapon, they will make weapons out of alphabets.
Everything.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And it is true.
It
I
is.
tell you right now, it is true.
I've made many a Lego
And,
bazookas.
and so Cash, just the other day, it was funny, and I'll tell you this brief story because it's most recent. I felt I was a bad father. I told him, Cash, go unplug that light, which was like a shop light, you know. And I said, bring me the cord and I'm plug in my saw. 10 minutes later, no Cash. I go looking for him. He's trying to rip the cord out of the actual light instead of unplugging it from the socket.
Oh my goodness.
And I go, what are you doing? And here goes natural father punishment. What are you doing? Are you stupid or something? I didn't say that, but you know what I mean? I'm just like, what are you doing? The cord's right here. And he's damn near crying. Again, another moment, okay, in my fatherhood as a father to a son. And I had my moment with my daughter, and it's been great since then. Now I have to have this moment with him, and he's about the same age, really. And I go, I just told you to do this. And he just looked at me with the clueless look. And I said, hold on. I sat there for a second, and I said, Cash, do you know what this is? A wire? And I was like, oh. How could I be so stupid? Who has ever taught him what a 3-prong cord is? Why that 3rd prong is there? What a hot, what a neutral, what a ground is, what color those wires are. I cut open a cord and I showed him. I ripped it open. I said, this is a hot, this is a ground, this is a wire. There's 3 prongs on this one, and there's 2 prongs on this one. And this 2 prong actually goes into this outlet. And you see how one of the outlet is bigger than the other, and everything. Broke it all down. An hour and a half. This is a drill.
Wow,
this
it only took like 1 minute right now.
Well, I went deeper.
And I'm sure there was kid language involved.
No. I talked to him just like I just told you right there. I said, this is hot, this is ground, this is why this happens. You know what I mean? So a couple days later, we're redoing our office downstairs, and I have a light switch that I want to turn on the light, but the outlet, I want it to stay hot, right? I still want the refrigerator to stay on when I turn off the switch, and I couldn't figure it out. Whiteboard. I go, Cash, I need you to draw me this. Let's draw it. Draw a switch. Okay. Draw the switch. Draw an outlet. Okay. Here's the power coming in. Okay, the breaker. Drew the whole thing out. Okay, what color's ground, Daddy? That's what he tells me. I said, all right, green's ground. He goes, okay, green. And I said, he goes, what's hot? I said, how about red? He's like, okay, red. And then what's neutral? We don't have white. Yeah. How about black? Okay, cool. And we drew it out, what I had there. And I said, how am I going to get that switch to just turn the light on? He goes, ooh, I know. What if we just took the switch and put just to here, and we put a wire nut here? And we figured it out and sat down together and figured it out.
I bet that's a fantastic teaching tool to involve your kids in whatever it is you're trying to do. Like, be patient. It's going to take longer, but involve them whatever. If you're trying to fix the sink, you know, it might take you an hour longer because they're getting in the way or whatever, but it probably has a huge effect on their brain. It's going to
be way more beneficial in their whole life.
Yeah.
You know, he changes oil. When I had my old 89 Civic, he changes the oil. I let him find the socket, go up there. Oh, too big. Grabs another one. Too small. My dad never did that for me, so I want more for him. You know, and everything I do, he takes out. Oh, the recycling's out there. Can you take it out? Yep. Trash ready to go out. And I'm already grooming him to show him what a man looks like. Wow. And how he treats his sister, how I treat my wife, this is how you treat a woman. You know what I mean? Now that's
powerful.
Oh, that's difficult.
Kanahou, you have a wonderful opportunity at hand. You can adopt the 5 of us and teach us these things.
Like, I didn't know about prongs.
Yeah, you probably didn't hear him. Joey's like, I think I just learned something.
Yeah, man.
Tiffany wants to say something. This is Kanahou's wife.
I just wanted to say that one of the things that attracted me to Kanahou in the first place was how good of a father that he is. And he's so cute.
Note to self.
And in the same situation, kind of as, let's say Ralph and Joey over here, she was a single, hot blonde. And
she still is a hot blonde.
She could have chosen anybody. And this was a real reality for me when I separated from my ex-wife. And I thought, wow, who's going to want a single guy with 2 kids? I was living that life. But I was like, I'm going to be the best father. I'm going to be the best father. I don't care if I ever have another woman father. I was just like, whatever. I'm going to be the best dad. And I focused on that. And I focused on knowing who I was, because I couldn't help my kids unless I know who I was. I had to have a ticket to New York City so that I can tell my kids, hey, this is who I am. And I'm demonstrating to my daughter what her future husband is. So fathers have a huge impact on that. So now when Tiffany we actually met, it was crazy that this is the gift that I got. You know what I mean? Because has anybody seen her lately?
All right.
So these two muffins walk into a bar.
You've been looking up dad jokes?
No, I didn't look it up. And actually, they didn't walk into a bar. There's these two muffins in an oven, right? And one muffin says to the other muffin, oh my gosh, it's so hot in here. And the other muffin says, oh my God, a talking muffin.
Okay. Dad joke.
I'm not even going to pretend to laugh.
So something we didn't cover on the last one that one of our listeners specifically asked and we didn't do was phones. What is the right age that you think for kids to have phones?
80.
Yeah. It's funny.
Of course, it depends on the type of kids you've raised. I'm sure your kids could handle having a phone earlier because they're so awesome.
I bought Malia her first iPod when she was...
That's okay though, because
no. I'm moving down the line, and then
did it have Wi-Fi? That's the question.
Well, yes, the iPod.
So then it's pretty much everything else.
It has that, and she could FaceTime me. You know what I mean? I wanted her to be able to FaceTime in between going to her mom's and stuff like that. And then we had an extra phone line, and I gave her a phone. And this is what happened. She was texting. And her friends who are like 5th grade and she's 4th grade have actual cell phones that their parents actually pay for with LTE 4G. Okay. Jeez. So they can text wherever they're at. They don't just have to be at home on Wi-Fi. Mm-hmm. So when I gave her that phone, I saw her focus really shift. I saw her grades drop, and immediately I bit it off right at the top. I said, hey, look, maybe this is just not the right time right now for you to have this, We have some more important things to do. And she's come up in her grades and everything, and it hasn't made me go, oh, she did a good job. Let me go give her a phone. No, she's doing what she's supposed to be doing, because we tell our kids all the time, what's your job? Go to school. And why do you go to school? To learn. That's their answer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
you nipped it in the butt right away.
Because I saw,
Butt?
The bud.
Nipped
right
it
away.
in the butt.
But what would you say to some parent who didn't do that right away and that kid goes kicking and screaming to get that thing taken away? What would you say?
If they had already given it to
them? They let it go too long. You got it right away.
Right,
but they let it go too long. Now this kid's hooked on it, and they're like, no, you know what? I'm making the decision. I need to take it away. And they're going kick it. Yeah. It's not just okay, Dad, because they didn't have it long enough to be attached.
Right.
It's tough.
It's tough. I would be honest with the child. I'd say, Daddy made another mistake. Isn't it funny? Daddy makes mistakes too. Yeah, I'm going to need that back. And then I would just take it. And there just wouldn't be any recourse. You're the child. I'm the parent. I'm in charge. I have a job. And that's why I tell them now, they're like, oh, can we get this? I'm like, I got a job. You don't. You're on welfare. My kids, they live on welfare. I pay for them to go to school. I pay for them to have lunch. I pay for everything. That's called welfare. And Cash the other day, what's welfare? I said, you live on welfare. You don't have a phone bill. You don't have electric bill. You live here for free.
Yeah, but his name is Cash, so he's pretty much covered.
Yeah. Right. Covered, yeah. So, but I would just be powerful with
kids on welfare.
Yeah. I would just be powerful with the child and say, hey, you know what? I made a mistake, and I'm really sorry. You know what I mean? I made a mistake. And then just take the phone and don't give back in, because if you go back and forth, you're going to wind up in a struggle with a relationship. You give it to them. You don't give it to them. You give it to them when they're good. Now they think it's a reward system. And it's like, oh, if I'm good, I can get it. And then I can go creep out in my bedroom and just text all night or
I feel
YouTube or whatever.
If you asked for my phone, I'd give it to you.
Yeah.
You're so good at
Because I was like, I made a mistake. Joey, yeah. Can you pass over that phone?
Here you go.
Oh, yeah, I pay for it, but go ahead, just take it.
So do you think it's primarily the texting, like being able to communicate with other people, like all the time, is what drew her attention away from stuff like school?
Yeah.
Because I mean, I had a cell phone in like probably like 3rd grade.
Okay.
Whoa.
But there was not texting back then.
That's intense.
So it didn't.
What
really
did you use
affect
it
me.
for?
That was just an emergency thing, right? That your
Pretty
parents
much,
gave you?
yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
It was a
back then
burner?
we're in-
I had my
burner
phone
in 3rd grade.
Yeah.
I had my phone in middle school, and man, Brick and Snake just distracted me completely.
Oh, Nokia.
Yes, I love that
Nokia.
Oh, I forgot about Snake. I played that game to the end.
Yes, I could play that game without looking. No, I couldn't.
Like that's the whole point of it is to see. There's no audio to
He's
it
just lying to
whatsoever.
himself about his high score.
But in middle school, I could text without looking because we had those phones that you had to press the 3 times to
Yeah.
get C. And I could hold my phone under the desk and look the teacher straight in the eye while I'm texting someone.
That's millennial.
I could totally do that too.
Totally.
Hashtag that's millennial.
I'd do
Yep.
like ABC pause CAD.
Yep.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Without looking.
CD.
And I would look at that text and it was perfect. Spaces, symbols, everything.
And then you write an essay and you're like, what am I doing?
My text used to cost per text.
Yeah, that's how
that-
that's how it was.
Yeah.
I had that Metro PCS, unlimited everything.
Daniel?
Wow. You guys really are millennial. I didn't text until I had a BlackBerry. 2009 or 10 or no.
Yeah, but
something.
you
8.
caught up so fast.
Yes.
You're
Oh, yeah.
past all of us. When your lights in your house are hooked up to your phone, you're just you're beyond
That's
us.
it.
And
Whatever.
You're technically
Jason,
a millennial, but
Your refrigerator has Wi-Fi.
act like you're from
What?
the coming
Yes.
generation.
My refrigerator really does have Wi-Fi, but we don't know why. It came with the house, and they were like, "Yeah, it even has Wi-Fi."
Is there
And
a
I'm
camera
like, oh,
inside?
Cool. That's stupid.
You know,
I've
there's
never
new,
used that feature.
there's new refrigerators with camera inside, so you can see what's inside.
Yes.
What?
The new Samsung.
No.
Yes.
Dude,
No.
Yes.
it's only
Please no.
$6,000.
Please no.
There's new refrigerators, so you can order what you need in the pantry and fridge from Amazon on the
Yeah.
fridge.
Now all they've
Yeah.
got to do with it is make a movie with that camera.
Have you seen? Okay, we're really
Leave it
far
in-
off
movie.
track right
Yeah,
now.
leaving it
But have you
open.
seen the new button from Amazon that you could just put a button anywhere in
Oh,
your
yeah.
house and you
Yeah,
press
dog.
it
For
and
your
you ship
products
it
that
to your
you-
door the
late.
next day?
You ran out
ship
of
what?
toothpaste. Boom. You
Like
press
you,
the
okay.
button.
Let's say you always get Tide. That's your laundry detergent. So
Yeah.
you get a little button that has a Tide. It says
Tide
Tide.
button.
You put it in your
You know
laundry,
this.
and whenever you run out of Tide, you press it, and the next day it's on your doorstep.
What?
I read the article on it. I
Is
told you
that
about it.
like
You were
the
that doesn't
easy
sound
button
real.
for Staples?
Yes,
Yeah, except
It's
it's Amazon.
real life.
reality.
that's insane. A drone flies it to your door. Not yet, but it almost.
yeah.
We're getting there.
Is there a button for wife?
Wife button.
Wife refill? What?
yeah.
So Kanahou, back to fatherhood.
Oh yeah.
What is it gonna be like raising a kid in a world where they can just sit on their butt and go click and something will show up on their door? How do you teach them about work ethic and things?
Kind of like what I'm doing now is, I hear all these parents, screen time. Oh, you only get 1 hour of screen time, and da 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 and da da da. You know what I mean? If Malia wants to wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning to build her world in Minecraft and watch YouTube videos at 6 o'clock in the morning, she's free to. Because I'm not getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning. But guess what? Come 7 o'clock, she's up, dressed, brushed her teeth, made her breakfast, made her lunch, and she's ready to walk out the door.
So pretty much as long as she's not interfering with everything else you've placed in her
She
life.
has made it a priority that, hey, I have responsibilities. If I want to get up and like before work, if I want to do stuff before work, fun stuff, that's my time. I want to wake up early and do it. I'm free to do that. And I've given her that freedom. And with Cash, every chance I do to go out and do something, let's go, bro. Come on. Let's go. And I just bring him with me, whatever it
That's
is.
good.
And guess what? He loves it because he gets to spend time with his papa.
Yeah.
And that's great. So not distracting them from it, but going, hey, here's real world life. Or, hey, the dishwasher's empty. Boom. 2 kids emptying dishwashers. I got dishwashers at my house.
That whole
They live there for free.
the whole responsibility thing. I noticed Malia. She sounds really responsible. Do you think that's something that has been instilled in her, or do you think that's just a natural part of her character, or a combination of the two?
I think it's definitely a combination of the two. She was born awesome. She's firstborn, and that's really a huge part because they're leaders, they're rescuers. You know what I mean? Firstborns are really set the tone for everything. But also, over the last five years since I've been doing these programs and stuff, I've given her more tools to manage herself, and she understands that she has the freedom to fail in our house, freedom to bring home a grade that maybe doesn't look as good as a grade with the kind of triangle thing with the line through it.
Once I made an F look like that. I got in trouble.
Didn't we
It's all about perception. It's like a crooked A, right?
Yeah.
Like a slanted A.
Teacher had a bad day that day.
Yeah. And so giving her those, being able to be free and giving her those options and giving her tools to manage herself, she's really just taken and run with it. Cash, on the other hand, he needs a little bit more coaching, but I'm so fine with coaching him because I want the best for him. You know what I mean?
And that's dad learning opportunities too.
Absolutely.
Like if you just had Malia and she's perfect all the time, how are you gonna learn all these
Lame.
dad techniques?
Lame. I totally learned dad techniques because of Cash. No, I'm just trying. Love you, buddy. I'm just telling you.
He's gonna listen to this.
He probably
as
will.
a teenager or now.
Yeah, he probably will.
Malia's probably figured out how to hack into our soundboard, and she's listening to us right now.
I'll tell them. They'll be like, "You're on a." They thought I was gonna be famous. They're like, you're on a podcast. Can we listen? I was
Play it
like,
in the car and just make them think that it's everyone in the world is just listening.
Look,
and they
I'm on
actually
radio.
can though, right?
They can.
Yeah.
Wow.
Anyone in the
Whoa,
world
that just hit me.
potentially.
Boom, boom,
Yeah.
boom.
His eyes lit up. That's perfect.
You should just narrate the rest of the time.
Yeah,
that'd be
I'm
awesome.
crying now.
The resources that Kanahou dropped on us this entire time, I don't know if the listeners kind of caught it, but you even like name dropped on stuff.
Yeah, like Google's your friend.
Like Loving Your Kids on Purpose
by Danny Silk.
That was one resource. Wild at Heart by
John Eldredge.
Eldredge.
Yep.
So I'm definitely
You guys
gonna
gonna put those links up on the.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
I'm definitely.
I mean,
gonna
if they're gonna
read-
pay us, yeah. I'm just kidding.
I'll talk to Danny.
Love Your Kids on Purpose. Yeah, but that guy.
I
gotta
don't know.
pay us. No.
It sounds like a good
kidding.
book. I
He's
want to
just
read it.
kidding,
Even
right?
the title's pretty cool. The whole 30% thing with the baseball
Wild one.
and the freedom to fail, like dropping some knowledge. So we just want to
Wild at
thank
Heart.
you for that.
Yeah,
'Cause
Kanahou.
I definitely learned a lot today, for
I
sure.
did.
Ground wires and stuff too.
And
There's hot and there's neutral.
I do not have a PhD. I just want to say that this is all from my personal experience. But
He's too cool
it
for
works.
school.
It
I
works.
think often
if
personal
you-
experiences
What's that?
almost more of a higher value. I think sometimes.
Even Rose, who's currently pursuing her PhD, said something along those lines.
It works if you work it.
Work it.
Work it.
Is that
You're
a rap
worth
song?
it.
What?
Yeah. Put my game down, flip it, and reverse it. It's your flipping it is what yat stomach.
Is that what she really says?
It's backwards.
Yeah, that's what she says.
Oh, my whole life I've been wanting to know what Missy Elliott says.
Google it, bro.
Yeah, but in Google it was just like.
Yeah.
that's pretty much it.
But he
You're
actually
pretty
like
close.
enunciated those words. That was
Yeah.
cool.
I have a PhD in Missy Elliott, so
Oh wow.
Wow.
That's valuable.
no big deal.
Yeah.
No big deal, you know. Just
All right, so this study said nearly 3/4 of us, being millennials, told Pew in 2011 that we wanted egalitarian marriages. That meaning completely balanced. Each does their part, and no one has a specific role.
Should be called
Everyone's doing-
equalitarian.
We both do the dishes. We both raise the kids. We both have that kind of thing. But with the millennials now accounting for more than 80% of births each year, that's nuts.
Dude.
Millennials have 80%
That
of the
is
births in America
crazy.
each year.
is that crazy though?
Yes,
Dude.
80%.
It's like a
That's life.
baby
You know, it's a new generation.
boomer
Yeah.
again.
I don't think that's that.
Older people, like people who are
Well, think
80
about
aren't
it.
having kids.
We have Rose,
Whoa.
who's what, 32, 33, all the way to, I think, my youngest cousin, who was born in 2000. That's a huge gap. So anyone older than like 33 or whatever
But people are having kids
aren't
later.
really
so
having children that often that I know of. Can you think of anyone? And anyone younger than 2000, I mean, hopefully you're not. I mean, it's your choice.
I
but-
can't think of people, but anyways, it's apparent that relatively few millennial men are walking the walk because 40% of millennial women have reduced their work 40% of millennial women have reduced their work hours or taken a significant amount of time off to care for their child or a family member. Only about a quarter of millennial men have done the same. And women of our generation are almost 3 times as likely as men to have actually quit their jobs to care for the child or family member. So in 2011, everyone, basically what this is saying is 2011, it said that that nearly 3/4 of us wanted to have egalitarian marriages, but it's actually ending up that we're falling back into traditional roles. The dad is the provider, and the mom is the one who will do less.
The caregiver,
the caregiver, the homemaker. What do you guys think about that?
No, I think it's absolutely right. I think that's.
Do you think it's just
spot on.
falling like that because it's natural?
I think it is falling like that because it's natural.
I think so.
I think it really works. I'm not against women or feminism,
Or
and I'm not saying that
equalitarian.
if they want to work, it's fine. But I talked to my grandma the other day, who's 85 years old, and she grew up in a generation a long time ago from us. And the man brought home the bacon and the woman took care of the house. And I'm not being sexist or anything like that. I'm just saying that at that period, it worked. And it worked really well. And then the women's feminism movement came in and, we want to be equal and we want equal pay. And okay, you got it.
We still don't have equal pay.
No, it's
You know
not
what I
equal,
mean?
but
No, I mean you want to be in it now. Everybody has to work to make a living. You know what I mean? I was gonna go right into it, except for what I did just recently. I was working full 8-hour job, and I left because I chose my children. I started my own business because I chose my children. Because I chose my life. Because I chose that Malia at 7 or Malia at 10 and Cash at 7, that I will never ever as a father get this time back in my entire life. When they're 16 and rebellious, it's too late. When they're 16 and doing drugs and sneaking out the window to see a boy, it's too late.
P.S. it's
Now
not an
is the
option,
time
children.
to have that impact on them, and I chose now. Whether it's less money or more money, it doesn't matter to me. They matter. And so I decided to stay home more. I decided that the best time in my day is when I get to take them to school and when I get to pick them up from school. And when I get to take them to their coding classes or be involved with them. That's what I decided to make that sacrifice on. And it actually hasn't even been a sacrifice. It's been phenomenal. So on that note, but I do see exactly what you're saying, and I think we are going back because it's only natural for it to go back, and it works. But there are a lot of women out there that are like, well, you know what? I don't want to be that housewife. You know, I don't want to be that homemaker. And that's fine, too. Nobody's saying everybody has to do everything the same.
yeah, but I think for a very, very long time, majority will fall into more traditional roles just because, I don't know, I really think it's in our blood, regardless of whether you think it's like some kind of religious thing or some kind of evolutionary thing or the combination of the two. I think that's, you know, it's in our testosterone to like protect and provide, and it's in a woman's, I think, in a woman's
Testosterone.
testosterone
To be nurturing.
and
Yeah.
caregiving and have more compassion than a
Estrogen.
male may have, because a male has to have a little less to make certain decisions. And
Right. Oh, man, that's the first thing we've ever agreed on, I think.
Oh, wow.
You,
No, I'm
me?
just-
No.
Oh,
All right.
blasphemy.
All right, how are we gonna end
Tiffany,
this?
Um,
well,
I
Tiffany
just
has
had
something to say.
something.
Oh yeah, Tiffany.
Oh.
So I think it's going back to like the prohibition thing we were talking about earlier, where, so right when feminism happened, everybody was like rebelling and forget that, we're gonna all go to work and we're not gonna do the traditional role. And then now it's kind of leveling back out to where the women want to go back and be involved in their kids' life and not sending them to daycare or letting someone else raise their kids. So
Yeah, that's true.
Gray. Everything is gray. No black and white.
It's black and right.
It can't be
Black and right.
It's black and
Hashtag.
right. It can't be this way or that way. There's always a balance. There's always a
There is
middle
an
ground.
amazing song for listeners out there by a band called As Cities Burn called Our World is Gray. Go listen to it. It's
There's
awesome.
also a band called Linkin Park, and they've got a song called Numb.
I was
check
just
that out.
going to say that same song. How did you know? Millennial.
Me and Ralph have a
Boom.
joke where
That
someone's like,
millennial.
"What's that song
Hashtag.
where?" And we're always like, "Linkin Park."
Yeah,
It's Linkin Park.
It's always
who scored that movie? Linkin Park.
It's always Linkin
Yeah.
Park. All right. So my example of a dad was my dad who just stepped in there and he just stepped up to the plate and took over and was there. And
Testosterone.
He was more than just present. He did what he had to do, and he's currently doing what he has to do with my younger brothers. So I would say that to dads, just step up. Don't operate out of fear. Don't let however you were raised negatively affect you. Take that and learn from it. I would also encourage, my dad was a really, really hard worker. He's worked the same 2 jobs my entire life, longer than I've been alive. And that was my example, even though that may not have facilitated as much time as he wanted to be with me, but it gave me I saw that and saw, man, this guy provides. Like, he is a provider. So yeah, just dads, be mindful, because what you're doing, your kids are watching you and soaking that up, because I know I did. Dase.
Ashley.
Here in Miami, that's how we conclude things. We
Dase.
say dase.
Dale.
Okay, my piece of advice is kind of like my advice to mothers in the last episode. Men out there, even if you aren't a father, or if you are, be intentional in what you do, because there are people in this world that see men in whatever action they portray, and somehow, some way, it affects them in the future in their reference to fathers or future husbands and all of that sort.
That's
like
good.
it has an effect on them, whether or not you're aware of it. So just be intentional in the way that you treat other people, in the way that you treat children, because even though, like Kyle mentioned before, people tend to think, oh, okay, they're not grown, so they just don't know the world, or they're not aware of what they're saying or anything like that. The actions that you make today will affect your future and those to come. And no matter what, just please be intentional.
My piece of advice would be to, it's kind of like what Kanahou mentioned earlier about being transparent with his kids. So, like, don't be afraid to, like, open up and share feelings and thoughts, because when you set that example that there's nothing, you don't share anything, that becomes how they communicate. So you want them to tell you what's going on, but you're not willing to tell them what's going on. So I think that's just a really big thing, just to be transparent and share your thoughts.
Agreed. I'm going to go with anger. I think a lot of dads are, I don't know if it's because of hormones or because of
Testosterone.
Right. Or because of a certain way they were raised. But I feel like a lot of dads, including me, I'm not even a dad, and just being a guy, I'm kind of quick to frustration and quick to anger. And when you're dealing with kids, you can't do that. I mean, I wouldn't say it's healthy to do it in any aspect of your life, but you can't do it with kids. You got to understand that they don't know anything, literally, are starting from scratch, and just remember how it was when you were a kid. And
I mean, they know some things.
Depends on their age, but being quick to anger is
not the way.
Can be detrimental, especially if you already have like either an anger problem or you're quick to yell. Yelling affects a lot of kids. So anyways, that would be my piece of advice: is be slow to anger.
To fathers who feel like they failed, it's never too late to step back in and try to, be a good dad again. So don't forget, you can.
That's a really good one.
Yeah, get back in the game.
And Kanahou?
Everybody's handed a tool bag when they're born, and that tool bag you're gonna carry and you're gonna put stuff in it. And if when you become an adult, you have not seeking outside of your primary family.
Come
on,
I love when that
I'm about to start ripping it now.
All right, rip it. Go.
Seeking outside the.
Someone spit a beat right now for him. He's up. The fire's about to come out.
If you have not sought outside of your natural, first habitat of what your parents have influenced you in, that tool bag is going to be full of. This is how my mom reacted. This is how my dad reacted. This is what my dad does. Da 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 da. Now, not all the tools are bad. Just like Kaio says, my dad was a super hard worker too, and I saw that. And my work ethic is smokes everybody. I run circles around everybody, and I always have at any job, even if I was making subs to what I'm doing right now, which I'm the best in Florida as far as I know.
He was on the cover of a magazine.
On the cover of a
Hot dog.
I don't know that.
But
be a billionaire.
Yeah. So going out and seeking those tools, different than what you had. Even if you had the greatest parents in the world, guess what? That's all they knew, right? And that's what they taught you. So there are more options out there. Let your kids make mistakes. These kids that you're raising, whatever age they are learning, and they are professional mistake makers. That's all they do. Frustration can be used in a good way, because frustration is actually the brain searching for an answer. And
What up?
And when you if you can get past the initial anger, like, I'm going to touch on what everybody said because it's great. If you can get past the initial anger and in the frustration and turn that frustration into something powerful where, okay, my brain is going through 8 million, files trying to figure out how to do this. If I just wait a little bit longer and I don't get frustrated and drop out, and I get frustrated and get inspired and get excited and get into state and go, I'm going to figure this out. Perfect example. My daughter the other day, she had a magic trick,
Malia
right?
for president.
Malia. And we did it before, the magic trick. And then she was going to show her brother, and she comes to me and she's crying and she's like, I can't do that. I said, what? Because can't in our house is a bad word, like beep and beep and beep. In other houses is probably bad words, but in our house, can't is a bad word. We don't say can't, because all things are possible. And it's kind of fun to do the impossible. Walt Disney said that. Anyway, so she's like, crying in her bed. I go downstairs, I do my own thing, I come back up, I said, what's the problem? It won't work. I said, come on, you got it. So I step out of the room for a minute, and you hear her like this. I don't want to be too loud. Like that, and she's bawling, crying. 5 minutes later, she comes out of the room, magic trick, perfect. I told her, just get past that frustration. Ralph, being transparent, absolutely. Tell them everything, because you're absolutely right. If you don't want to give in to the relationship, you're only going to get in what you put in. And a lot of parents feel disconnected from their, even fathers and mothers feel disconnected from their children, because they're like, oh, they're growing up in this age where, it's phones and iPads and I'm not in it, and I can't even turn on my radio. Guess what? That's your problem as a parent. That's your problem, not engaging with where they are at. and not have already had this relationship this whole time. If you wait for them to be 16 when they're already plugged into the iPad, guess what? They're going to stay plugged into the iPad because you didn't make that effort when they were 2, 6, 4, 10.
That's like your kid speaking Spanish, and you're just like, well, I guess I just don't know Spanish, so I just won't be able to communicate with my kid.
Right.
Like,
that's exactly
learn
right.
Spanish for
Miami
your kid.
problems.
Right. And
the listeners in Ohio are like, what?
Yeah.
Right. Spanish.
And like, give your kids chances. That's the biggest thing I can tell you. Let me ask you a question. Jay, let's see. These two are on the edge, right? You guys don't know what kind of tickets you got. If you had a kid, right? And
I've already arrived.
How long would you let them try to walk, right? When they're crawling or whatever, how long would you give them to try to walk before you cut them off and said, all right, you tried, that's it, you're done?
Never,
right? It's a wonder why everybody walks. Same thing. Life is just like that. Just because you know it, oh, I know how to use a fork or whatever, guess what? They've never used a fork before. Just like with Cash and the electricity. He has no idea. What is my problem assuming that this guy's a general contractor and has a license? You know? So give your kids chances and what'd you say? That's it?
That's it.
That's it, man. That's
Hey,
it.
Ralph,
That's it.
tell me about that dream that you had.
Yeah. I had a dream that I was a muffler. I mean, it was really interesting. I woke up exhausted.
That's good.
That's it.
For real, that's it.
And
Yeah,
that's
that's it.
That's it.
That's it. Just end it. That's it.
That's it.
That's it.
That's it.
That's it.
That's it.
That's it.
That was good.
Hey guys, it's Ralph here. I just wanted to mention the show notes. We've got plenty of stats and links down there, and also you can find our social media there, where you can find us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, also our email where you can air out grievances, voice your opinion, maybe something we missed, or even just send us topics. We really want to hear what you got to say, so just join the conversation. That sounded like I had more to say, but I don't.
Hey, you know what? You ain't got to do nothing, Uncle Phil. Hey, you know, ain't like I'm still 5 years old, you know? Ain't like I'm gonna be sitting up every night asking my mom, when's daddy coming home, you know? Who needs him? Hey, he wasn't there to teach me how to shoot my first basket, but I learned, didn't I? Hey, I got pretty damn good at it too, didn't I, Uncle Phil? Got through my first date without him, right? I learned how to drive, I learned how to shave, I learned how to fight without him. I had 14 great birthdays without him. He never even sent me a damn card. To hell with him! I ain't need him then, and I don't need him now.
Will.
Now, you know what, Uncle Phil? I'm gonna get through college without him. I'm gonna get a great job without him. I'm gonna marry me a beautiful honey, and I'm gonna have me a whole bunch of kids. I'm gonna be a better father than he ever was. And I sure as hell don't need him for that, because ain't a damn thing he could ever teach me about how to love my kids. How come he don't want me, man?
But I'm mighty proud of how my boy stood up to him. Couldn't ask no more of a grown man. The thing to do now is try and forget it. Go and being a man.
How, Pa? How you gonna forget something like that?
Well, I guess I don't quite mean that. It's not a thing you can forget. Maybe not even a thing you want to forget. What I'm trying to say is, life's like that sometimes.
Like what?
Well, now and then for no good reason a man can figure out, life will just haul off and knock him flat. Slam him again the ground so hard it seems like all his insides is busted. But it's not all like that. A lot of it's mighty fine. You can't afford to waste the good part fretting about the bad. That makes it all bad. You understand what I'm trying to get at?
Yes, sir. Just that.
Sure, I know. Saying it's one thing and feeling it's another. But I'll tell you a trick, it's sometimes a big help. When you start looking around for something good to take the place of the bad, as a general rule, you can find it.